Joined by Councillor Ian Paton, and Ian, good buddy. We always normally see each other on the ice, but today we're in a little bit of a lobby setup, talking sports. Ian, thanks for doing this. Busy man this time of the year.
Yeah, Steve, you know, we got through the summer sort of farming season and harvest in the fall, and the farmers have come through with a really successful harvest this fall. The rain started, but after the harvest is in, and now it's full election mode, so a lot of meetings, a lot of outings every night, just about.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, the last time you and I actually had a real good heart-to-heart talk was just after you got elected in, taking over from the gentleman that passed away, Mr. Hawksworth.
George Hawksworth, yeah, correct. That was that election was in September of 2010, and that's when I first got approached to get into municipal politics to run in the by-election to replace Mr. Hawksworth, and there was 8 of us that ran in that election, and I won, and so here I am, still going at it.
Who came up with the idea of even running in the first place, and did you ever have second thoughts about it?
Well, there's a bit of a funny story to this. I was in my barn clothes, let's call it, having a
by the tractor,
having a beer at in a pub in Ladner, and there was a couple of councillors there, and they called me over and said, "Hey, Paton, I think you'd make a good councillor in this town." And I kind of laughed it off, and you know, don't bother me. I play hockey on Monday nights. Okay,
That's right.
I don't go to council meetings on Monday nights. And after about 2 or 3 weeks of more and more people, you know, phoning me and saying, yeah, you should do it. So I finally, you know, everybody always says, you know, I don't have the time. And I felt the same way because I have 2 businesses, my farm and my farm auction business. Yeah. But anyways, you work around it, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been quite enjoyable.
No kidding. All right, let's get to know the Ian Paton behind the council desk that we normally see at. Growing up, you grew up on the farm that your grandfather had. Your dad both worked, and now you work it. But we used to have, going back years, we had the old hangar at the airport. Is that where you played hockey?
That's where I started my hockey. In fact, it was an old a flat-roofed hangar at Boundary Bay Airport, and it no longer exists. People tend to think the big old hangar there now was the one that the ice rink was in, but it was a flat-roofed hangar. My dad was actually one of the original guys, and he was honored in the Sports Hall of Fame a few years back for being one of the original guys that said, "Hey, we need an ice arena in Delta for the kids. How can we do this?" So he got a bunch of farmers, fishermen together. They put up the money to convert this old hangar at Boundary Bay Airport into an ice arena. It wasn't a full-size sheet of ice, but pretty darn close. And that's where we all played our hockey right up until the South Delta Rec Center sheet ice was built around 1972, something like that, yeah. So yeah, it was quite an experience playing at Boundary Bay Airport in the old hangar. There was not only an ice arena, but there was about 4 sheets of curling ice next to it as well.
Everything all together.
Yeah.
Brothers and sisters?
Yeah, 2 brothers. Oldest brother is a veterinarian up in Aldergrove area. Next older brother, Bryce, is in the airline industry in Calgary, and I have a sister, Glenda, who works for many, many years at the Delta Hospital.
Did they play sports?
Yeah, pretty much everybody. I don't think my sister was too involved in sports, but both older brothers played minor hockey at the Boundary Bay Airport, just like I did. Yeah, exactly.
Was Dad the type of dad that said, "Okay, if you're going to play sports, I want you to do it and do it right instead of just going out and having fun"?
You know, Dad and Mom were both like really hard workers. It was kind of tough times back in the 50s and 60s on the farm, and they never really had a chance to get too involved with you know, minor hockey or sports. I mean, you know, it was all they could do to find the time to get us to and from the rink, so we pretty much did our own thing, but I was pretty focused right from the get-go that I always wanted to play rep hockey, and or back in those days it was called the All-Star team.
That's right,
it wasn't
the
rep
All-Star,
hockey.
yes.
You know, you played Pee Wee All-Stars or Bantam All-Stars, and so yeah, I you know, really worked hard at it. I was a pretty decent little hockey player, and it was little because I just couldn't get over that 165-pound weight, and when I went to the New West Bruins rookie camp in 1973, you know, Punch McLean was going, "Hey kid, you might have the wheels, but I don't think you're playing for this hockey team."
And Punch is a pretty honest guy.
Yeah.
Your career took you over to England. That you didn't play hockey over there. You played a different sport.
Yeah, over the years I was involved in quite a few different sports. I actually really enjoyed playing field hockey for the Tawasin Falcons field hockey
yeah.
team, you know, back when I was about 14, 15, 16, and then played a lot of high school basketball, hockey, just kept fitting it all together. And then I just got this love of rugby, and there was about 4 or 5 of us from Delta Secondary Rugby Team graduated in 1974, and there was a team in New Westminster called Pocomo Rugby Club that grabbed us and just said, hey, we want you guys on our team. And so we went on to play men's first division rugby for Pocomo Rugby Club in New West. And with that, we traveled a lot down into Washington State, Oregon, and whatnot, interlocking first division. And then we went over to, I was chosen to go over to Ireland, Wales, England, and Scotland in 1975 to play some teams over there.
It's got to be a nice feeling to get even selected and chosen to go over and do that, because not everybody gets that luxury.
Yeah, no, it was really a memorable trip. I just, to this day, I remember just how competitive they were, especially in Wales and Ireland with their rugby. And sometimes we'd be billeted out with a guy you're playing against, and then just the nicest people in the world. But then when the game day came, I'll tell you, this guy would do anything to beat you. I mean, he'd step on you, he'd punch you in the scrum or whatever. And then the minute the game was over, it was all, you know, let's have a beer.
Back to it again. Yeah. We look at the fields, we look at the sports in Delta. You talk about the field hockey, the Falcons, they still play down in the South End.
Yeah.
We've got rugby at John Oliver Park. Our fields in Delta, are they up to par to host what we have?
Well, Steve, we just had a meeting with some fellas from the Tawasin Falcons field hockey team, and you know, field hockey when I played back then was just on a soccer pitch or a football field, and you know, the ball doesn't always move all that nicely because of, you know, the turf and the length of the grass. So now field hockey gets played on kind of an artificial surface, which is almost like a carpeting, as you know, and now the field hockey, believe it or not, there's a new artificial surface. It's called a water-based surface where the field hockey ball rolls just absolutely so true. So they're kind of pushing on the wish list for another artificial field for field hockey possibly in South Delta or Tawasin area. But you know, we've emptied the piggy bank pretty much as we can with you know, artificial turf fields in North Delta at, you know, Mackay and Tawasin, Winskill. The new one just opened up at Dougal Morrison. So, you know, when you're living at sea level, you can provide all the beautiful grass turf fields, like natural grass. But when you're living at sea level with all the rain that we get, I mean, you know, we do the best we can, but it's never easy in the middle of winter.
No, it sure isn't easy at all. I know people are always talking about saying expansion, and it's like I was talking to Robert early on. The only way to go, basically, for any development now seems to be up.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only way we can go, is to build additions, but just end up going up.
Yeah.
When you look at the park at John Oliver Park, and again, I'd spoken about this earlier on, the Whitecaps, they had this myth that they wanted to come here. Then they put that to bed because it didn't happen, and then they just recently approached New West, and that didn't happen either. Is there, or have they approached Delta about maybe possible talks coming back, do you know of? You know,
as far as getting a professional team out there, we went to I think it was the opening of the gymnastics building, and Wally Buono was the guest speaker that day. And we took Wally Buono, who's of course the GM of the BC Lions, we took him aside and said, you know, the day may come where your practice facility in Surrey is deemed for something else. I mean, because look at all the building in Surrey, high rises and whatnot. I said, you know, would you consider Delta John Oliver Park as a new facility for the BC Lions, as a training facility? And he said, yeah, definitely, that's something he would really consider if they ever start getting squeezed out of their Surrey location.
Yeah, because there's a lot of pressure put on them now, especially the cost of land over there.
Yeah. And, you know, we do have some room for expansion at John Oliver Park, and, you know, it might just be the perfect fit for a pro team like the BC Lions to come out there and, you know, set up kind of a building that should be their sort of temporary, you know, clubhouse, you know, training facility, the whole works.
Well, it's accessible. It's off 91 as well as 99
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. Yeah, and, you know, one thing Delta's kind of been working on over the years, it's a tricky entrance off of Highway 10 there, so you know, that's one thing that we're working on improving is the entrance in and out of that athletic park.
Have they ever discussed possibility of maybe putting in traffic lights there? Because we have had, I believe, a while back had, well, I know we've had a few accidents there, but.
Yeah. Well, we've requested the province now, speaking of, basically, the entrance to that is the beginning of the hill. We call it the
Yeah,
Scott
that's
Road
right.
Hill that goes up to Scott Road. Of course, there was a horrific accident there a couple of weeks ago with 2 vehicles that crossed over the center line. So our request to the province now is we've got to somehow widen those lanes out and be able to put a concrete barrier going up Scott Road Hill.
Like you did on Nordell.
Exactly, exactly. So if that was to come about, perhaps we could go to the province and say, hey, at the same time, how about a light at the entrance of John Oliver Park for safety measures? Yeah.
How does it work with the corporation if a group comes and they're a new group and they say, okay, we're a brand new group and we want to rent the field and we want to play table tennis in the middle of the park? What's the process for them starting the process to get involved to possibly booking that field to get usage? How does that all work?
You know, that's a good question. I'm not really an expert on the time granting for all these different. In fact, I was going to ask the same question. I find it very interesting that the new Dougal Morrison Park and the lights are on till 9:30 at night, and I go, wow, it must take one heck of a computer and some gals at the Parks and Rec department to do the programming for every team that's going to, field across from 3 p.m. till 4:30, and then soccer from 4:30 till, and so I know we've got some brilliant people that work in our Parks and Rec department, and that is their full-time job, is coordinating who goes where on which field in Delta and what times you get for your practices or your games.
To the best of your knowledge, do you know if there's any assistance given by the municipality, like by the Corporation of Delta, for families that can't afford to play sports?
You know, I honestly, I'd love to look into that. I'm not sure. I think almost, I'm not so sure that Delta gets involved with that, but I think almost each program, for instance, South Delta Minor Hockey, I think if you come and you sign up or whether it's soccer, boys or girls soccer or baseball, if you go and you say, look, my son wants to play, it's all we can do to pull together some equipment for him, new skates or whatever. I'm almost positive that they make concessions. There are families that can honestly say, hey, we just don't have the income to do this.
That's tough for families to admit, though.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes people don't want other people to know about their finances and how their lifestyle is.
Yeah.
So that's really tough.
Yeah.
And I
but
guess
that's something to look into. On my part, I'd be happy to do that and see if Delta has. I'm sure Robert knows the answer to that, being the head of the Parks and Rec Commission.
Well, I know the one thing that Delta does do is, because I've been in contact with Mr. Sessford, is that for police background checks, Delta does it for free. Mm-hmm. And that's versus other areas. If you're in other areas of the province or Canada, you basically get charged so much to have your background check done.
Yeah.
And it's a strange world, considering you have to have a background check to be involved to help out as a volunteer for sports. Considering when you and I were growing up, you just got anybody that wanted to help you.
Oh yeah, when I was 6 years old playing hockey at the old Boundary Bay Airport, whoever's dad happened to have enough time to volunteer was the coach, and things have changed a lot, but it's good. It kind of fast tracks the process. If we got parents that want to be hockey coaches, or even young guys, my son Tommy, who's 27 years old, I couldn't believe it all. He plays hockey on 2 different teams still, heck of a hockey player. And he goes, guess what, Dad? I'm coaching a Pee Wee team this year. It's South Delta Minor Hockey. So
it's nice when the kids that have gone through the program put back into the program and become coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Chad Day is and Tommy are the 2 coaches of the team together. Yeah.
Chad didn't tell me who his assistant was. He just said one day you'll find out. So that was an interesting conversation there.
Yeah.
Did you ever have any second thoughts about running in this election coming up?
Not at all. Not at all. I don't know, it just kind of, we got a really good team, the 4 of us, Mayor Jackson, myself, Rod Binder, and Robert Campbell, and believe it or not, it was way back in January that we first started having meetings. Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? Who's going to order the signs? And so we've been into this since January. It's not like, July 1st, we better start thinking about the election coming up. So it's been a process for us, and I enjoy what I do. It's kind of funny. before you get into politics, you sort of walk around Delta thinking almost 100% of the people like you, but every year as you get into it and you challenge things in public hearings that people don't like, you go, hey, my popularity must be going down somewhat because, you know, not everybody agrees with decisions you make, but we get voted in to make decisions, and sometimes they're tough decisions, but you can't sit on the fence. It's either got to be a yay or a nay.
Yeah, it's decisions. Sometimes you have to. It's like refereeing hockey. You've got to call a penalty. Or you don't. You know that's
exactly.
easy to do. But were you surprised that Her Worship got back in by acclamation?
Not at all. Not at all.
Nobody even, from what I heard, nobody even considered running against.
No, I mean, you know, you always think somebody's going to run against the mayor, because there usually always is.
Yeah.
But 3 years ago, you had three names that, you know, John Meach, Heather King, and Krista England. And they all thought they were going to challenge and beat the mayor. And you know, they were talking, you know, Lois Jackson is going down and whatnot. And so it turned out that Lois Jackson won by a landslide, and then Krista England came in second place, and Heather and John Meach came third and fourth. So I think this time around, people just took a look and said, boy, she's a tough lady to beat, real tough. And you know, are you going to go out and spend $50,000 or $75,000 on advertising and promotion to run for a spot that you're probably not going to win?
Yeah, no, that's a tough one. Have you still got your hockey jacket that you had when you were playing years back?
This is an interesting, there was a fight in my house this morning, Steve, because I said to my wife, okay, this jacket of mine from 1966, it's in mint condition, you know, Delta Bantam All-Stars, okay, my number, my name, 1966, it's in mint condition, it's been hanging in this closet. So I went to get it, where the heck is it? Well, I don't know. So I was racing around my farm next door to my mom's house. Have you got this jacket? I can't find it. So now my next trip's up to the attic. It might be up there.
It's somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's interesting that you know, when you've played like you and I did for a number of years on different teams, that you always have the stuff coming back, and it's really great, you know, that you've still got that thing. You know, I want to thank you for coming in.
Yep.
I really appreciate it. All the best for the upcoming election.
Yep, thanks.
Before you go, I want you to look at the center camera. I'm going to put you in the spot right now because we're going to be coming back. We're going to be talking about elections and people that are running elections. I want you to look at the center camera. I want you, in your auctioneering voice, to bring us up to that.
In my auctioneering voice?
Yes.
Bring us up to what?
The next segment for just about the election, coming out to get people to vote.
Well, now, boys, what are you going to bid to buy 'em here now? What do you say? You can vote on November 1st, you can vote on November 5th, number 6, and then the big day is November 15th. What do you say? Do it again, 25, 50, now 75, now $100 bill sold to Steve Erickson.
Good deal. Thanks, Ian.
All right.
All the best. Thanks for
See ya.
doing that.